Okay, well then let's do a thing. Everybody, welcome back for a little more Depot TV. This is one of our favorite pieces of getting to get artists and musicians and performers all together in the room at the same time and kind of have a minute to talk about the same topic and get everybody's opinion from a lot of different perspectives. And tonight, since we talked a little about community and inclusion and belonging and creative expression, I kind of wanted to talk about that. I told you a little bit about me and needing to run away to find a way to express myself and needing to get out of here, but I would love to ask the group either what did it take for you to learn how to express yourself, and or how important is it for you that in order for our community to include you, you are able to express yourself the way you need to? Anybody want to take that? Microphone is up for grabs. Just raise your hand if you have something you would like to add.
I'll do it.
Get it.
My name's Dyon Top, and I understand the importance of expression. It's a therapeutic thing sometimes because you have to figure out who you are and where you belong and what your voice is. And a lot of times that doesn't make sense, especially as a younger person trying to figure that out. It can be kind of hard. And when you don't have people around you that look like you or think like you. And so I kind of found that what worked for me was finding my own voice in music. Music saved my life. If I'm being 100% honest, music saved my life. My father grew up listening to gospel music, and I dabbled in a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of more of that and a little bit of more of this. But there's something about music that allows everybody to find something kind of in common. And that's one of the places I found I belonged, was in music. Matter of fact, I got a tattoo on my left ring finger because she's my wife. I got a music note right there. Because I love her. She understands me. She never lets me down. Music is the one thing that made me feel like I belong.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Something to add? Get it. There you go, Bailey.
I related to your monologue at the beginning of the night. I also grew up in a fundamentalist community, and when you grow up in that environment, there are a lot of preset expectations for who you're going to be and how you should express yourself, to the point where there are just things that are appropriate for you to say in every given environment, and you're trying to become the perfect response for that role that has been shown to you. And so it's always been wonderful for me in adulthood to meet people who are delighted when I say something unexpected, or when I do something that is atypical or not as heard of, and then find joy and appreciation in that when I would have found rejection in certain groups.
I love that. Right on. Anybody else? Pass that over.
So for me, my name's Nathaniel. I'm the president for Norman Pride. I became the president a few years ago, but it really wasn't until I kind of stepped into that role and I started helping provide spaces for the community that I identify with to express themselves how they want to be, that I truly started to kind of understand, okay, I can express myself how I truly want to express myself, not how people think I should express myself. So growing up, my parents were a little bit more on like the conservative side, but when I came out, they were both very accepting. All my family was, but there was still that little bit of, I don't know if I can wear heels to Christmas, even if I wanted to, because would they accept me for wearing women's clothing or women's shoes, whatever it may be, but being in a space, meeting people who identify the same way or differently, but that can express themselves how they want to be and see that joy and just be able to express themselves how they truly want to be represented, regardless of any stigma, was really how I found how I want to express myself and how I hope everybody who comes to any event, whether it's a Pride event or a Depot event, nor a music festival, like whatever it may be, they can express themselves wherever they are, however they want. So that's how I found how I like to express myself and how I hope everyone else can express themselves how they want to.
I'm Helen Grant, and I'm the council member for Ward 4, which is the ward we're sitting in. I will say I did go to school in Norman and moved away, and I'll say I found my voice through narrative. When I graduated from the College of Journalism with professional writing, I went straight into journalism. And that was great. I learned a lot. I covered politics up at the Capitol. I covered art and culture. When it came time to come back to Norman, I moved actually within walking distance of downtown because I knew I wanted to be a part of the revitalization, but not add to gentrification. So I didn't know that I would go run and get elected. What I did know was that I would get involved in the art community, and I did that when I came in contact with Resonator, and I would say we all came up together learning about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And also Me Too happened during that time, and that changed the way that we did artist agreements. Like, we would be happy to deplatform somebody who's an abuser in our community. So anyways, I found my power and voice through narrative, and then that evolved into art, because narrative and art also go hand in hand, even if schools separate these things a little bit. And in 2020, I took a political art making class, and I would say that kind of launched me going forward with deciding to do politics. And whenever the former council member announced that she wasn't running again, like a panic took over me. I was worried about the future of my neighborhood, which is not a rich neighborhood, and I was worried about the redevelopment. I was curious about what was going to happen to downtown and just things in central Norman. So I would say coming into City Council in 2022, after the votes in 2020 and 2021, I felt like I was carrying forward work that had started in 2020. And that's what I'm doing on council, is trying to make it an inclusive place for all. And I also, I would say during my time at Resonator and Bigfoot Creative and Oscillator, I really came to find power in being non-binary. I would also say I grew up Catholic and in the military, which I feel is very gendered, and even studying languages is very gendered. Spanish was a minor of mine as well. So I found a lot of power in breaking free from like these gender norms, and it's not really how I operate. In fact, there were things my spouse told me not to do when I was running, and I was like, psh, I'm doing it anyway, and I won. So I would say going into that, and also having done performance art, I thought of being on the dais like political theater. And so that kind of reframed the things that I might not have done before, but because that is my platform, sitting through the pledge does not bother me. And as somebody who comes from a military Catholic background, I feel even more empowered to do that, because to me, that is like, I'm acknowledging all the bullshit. Which I guess you can bleep that out. But like, I'm acknowledging it. I am not standing up because there's an insurrectionist on council, or a man who hits little women, or a man who doesn't believe that homeless people deserve shelter. So yeah, I felt really empowered, and I'm still doing it, and we'll see if I get reelected.
Thank you. Anybody else something to add on that one? Go ahead.
I think for me, a sense of belonging comes from making a contribution that isn't necessarily noticed or tied to you. So like at Resonator, for instance, another place in town that I have also been, like I hung all the drywall that's in there and helped rebuild the entire place, and I made lights from scratch and did all of these things, and I'm telling you now. But I think I wanted to do a really good job on all of those things so that they would enable someone else besides me to feel good about that space, to make a high quality, like welcoming place, and where I would learn. Like that was the first time that I built a gallery or a moving wall or did all that stuff, but I knew that doing it would make me feel really good and actualized, and like I made a contribution, and that, you know, if I move away or go somewhere else or something like that, whoever runs that space is going to be like, I remember the guy that made those things. But but anybody that goes in there hopefully can utilize them and do something that I would never think to do with those things, with that contribution that I have made. I think determining what your actualizing tendencies are, like if it's wearing heels at Christmas or like a jacket with a bunch of patches and growing your hair out and doing all of these things that when you're 16 people tell you like, why are you doing that, you're weird, you know, right? So like I think finding the things, whether they're, you know, things on the outside or things that you perform or do or activities that you participate in, I think it's important to notice and encourage in other people when you see it, that they're being actualized in that moment. Like I find this with, like I've taught a lot of kids art classes, and I've taught a lot of kids one-on-one, and when I see something that's like, something that's growing inside that little kid when they touch pen to paper, or they get to, you know, if they look at the stuff that I brought in tonight to play and they're like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. What is this? Let me tell you all about it. You know? Do you want to turn that knob and see what it does? You know, like at the most recent show that I had at Main Site, there was this one little kid that came in with his parents, and my sister was there, and she came in from California, and she was taking photographs and video and stuff. And this kid's mom came up to her later on and told her, he must have mind control over my son. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And so he was just super excited to have somebody telling him to just make noise and do this thing and try this. And I'm going to push this button and you do that. And all right, come on. And like the smiles on the parents' faces, and this kid being able to do this thing with just stuff that I brought into a room in a situation. I think, and I hope that he felt actualized in that moment and is encouraged to go walk whatever path he walks for the rest of forever. So.
For sure.
All right. Normally I ask the questions and don't answer, but you just reminded me of my favorite 13 seconds of this year's Norman Music Festival. So I'm director here at the Depot, but I'm also director of the Norman Music Alliance that produces the Norman Music Festival. And the reason that I do the things that I do after moving back to this community, so I'm a single mom of a 16-year-old, just turned 16. It's a brave new world. There's a driver's license in a car, and like, hi, when will I see you? Bye. How I go? Oh, make good choices, honey. Like, there's all of that going on right now. But at Norman Music Festival, my favorite band that I got to bring in was a punk rock band called Wine Lips that I just love some punk rock music, and this band was so good. And my kid was there with their boyfriend, and I have on my phone 13 seconds of my kid with no reservation, pumping fists, just being, dancing, flipping out in the street, jumping up and down and cheering. And I was like, that's life. Because, like Craig said, I'm making a space that I didn't have, that my kid has a part of their space. We're taking up space. That's right. Yeah. We had it.
So we want to give it.
So we want to give it. We didn't have it, so we want to make it. And we want to own it, and we want to create it and broaden that space so that all of those that come after we're here get to have it. Exactly. Thank you guys all so much for being a part of tonight. This is so special and beautiful and lovely. So thank you all, and thank you guys for sitting in and listening. And we'll be back in just a minute.